Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. And now, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial in Mississippi as part of our Mississippi Success segment at WYAD 94.1 FM, we welcome you all to our program. Also, those tuning in through our online affiliates around the world, including our iHeartRadio family. We're glad to have all of you with us as well. I am so excited to welcome today to our program author-k-reshay. She's someone I actually got to meet in person this year in Mississippi, but she's written a book that I think people, no matter where you live, will really enjoy. It's called Appearances. We're going to talk to K-reshay not only about the writing of the book, but also what it's been like for her to introduce the characters and where she sees them going next, because there's more to this story that she's going to be sharing with us. If you're just hearing about Kay, we're going to let you guys know at the end of our segment how you can stay connected with her. But K-reshay, hello to you and welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for all you do for readers and authors and other up-and-coming people.
Well, look, I appreciate that. I want to thank you as someone who's a big nerd, K-reshay, for writing books that people can be able to enjoy. We're going to talk about Appearances a little bit later, but I want to talk about this journey for you. You've had a very busy 2018. You have a lot of things that are even coming up for you. I mean, what has it been like for you as a lover of words, K-reshay, to be able to not only to have this love, but then to be able to share it with other people?
It's been a phenomenal experience so far. I think that my background in marketing and also just being able to learn how to operate a website, social media, all that stuff plays a part in it. It's been great. I am a reader. I started a book club in 2011, and I was able to, through that, connect with a lot of authors. And just their drive and determination made me want to go ahead and step out and do it myself. I've been writing since I've been about 8 years old, and it's been short stories, it's been poetry, it's been several different types of lines that I would write on pages and just leave them there. And so with all of it, just trying to get into this world is really, really phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think, this is my first work to be able to read of yours, K-reshay. And I think the thing is, what I love about your way of telling a story is that you kind of make us a part of the story. We're able to kind of really get a chance to know the characters. Do you think your own interest in people is one of the things that's kind of helped you as a storyteller?
It definitely has. You can draw a lot of things from people's personalities into these characters to make it seem more real, more realistic. And so what I do create these characters, but I do pull from a lot of the personalities that I've met over the years as well to make them more realistic. Yeah.
Well, you definitely achieved that, and we're going to be getting more into this particular book. And as I mentioned, for those who are joining us on the radio dial in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, as well as tuning in online to their website at WYADonline.com, you and I met for the first time this year. And what I always tell people, it's always exciting for me. I'm still one of those people, even though I've been doing this for a while, when I'm able to meet an author, it's still that great moment. You got a chance to meet a lot of readers, K-reshay, at that event. What was it like for you to be a part of the 4th annual Mississippi Book Festival and to see all those book lovers there in one place?
It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. It was very, very professional and organized, and just being able to what I did before I actually came to the event was I tried to reach out to some book clubs in Jackson. I think, just getting the word out to the book clubs is also very important, but it was a phenomenal experience. I did really well as far as connecting with different authors there, with my own book club, but also networking with them. Just telling them about different events, feeding off of them. It was just all about telling people of my experience, them telling me their experience. So overall, it was an awesome event.
Yeah, well, I know it was awesome for them to be able to meet you. It was great to be able to get myself in with you as well. Do you still have those wow moments when you're kind of having conversations like this about work you've done, and even meeting people who have read your work? Do you still have those wow moments that you like? I actually did this.
Yes, all the time. I just recently came back from Dallas, Texas. A book club there called On Another Level Book Club read my book. They read both of my books. And, they took care of my hotel room. And, I flew out, and I was so nervous because that's my first time traveling to another state. I've met with book clubs close to me, but, traveling to another state is definitely a new experience. And just to be around a group of ladies that are discussing your book and saying that they like your book and, how they related to the characters and different scenes throughout the book, it was amazing. Like, I could not believe it that, something that I wrote would spark the conversations that we had and that, people are having still.
Yeah, I think that is it, and I think as people are able to continue to find out about you, K-reshay, as we hope they will continue to do with this conversation, I know that response will only continue to grow. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. I'm excited to welcome author and poet K-reshay to our program today. We're talking with her not only about her literary journey up until this point, and as I mentioned, she has a lot of great things that are coming up, but also a book I had a chance to read and will be reviewing called Appearances. So I have to ask you, where did the seed for this book come from? Because, there are so many layers to this story, and we'll talk around this, K-reshay, so that we don't spoil it for people. But there's a whole thing about friendship. There's a thing about betrayal, but also there's a thing about being true to self, because, I think when I first started reading the book, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. But when I was reading, I was like, I kept going back to the cover and thinking, you know what, appearances can definitely be deceiving in so many ways. So how did it kind of all begin for you?
Actually, I heard someone mention a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar called We Wear the Mask. And that poem sparked a big interest. And so I heard like snippets from it, but I actually found it and read it. And, what he meant was how African Americans had to wear the mask back in 1800s in our daily lives, as far as, in our workplace, being out and being mistreated, but still having to smile and grin. And so I wanted to take a more modern take on that poem and put it into how we still do that, but we do it among ourselves in different aspects of our lives. So I wrote down in 2013 just a couple of lines. I wrote down a couple of characters. I wrote down a quick synopsis, and I began chapter 1, which was maybe a paragraph or two, and I left it alone. And it wasn't until 2016 that I found those words. And, I was just looking at them over and over, probably for about an hour or so. And I finally decided, you know what, there's a story to be told here. I need to complete this. And that's what drove me to come up with the novel Appearances.
Wow. Well, it is really a great work. And again, it starts off, if people turn it over and they read the back, they would think that it really is about these friends. And that is a part of the story, Maya and Tony. But it definitely spirals away from there. And you're able to, in the book, as you alternate between different characters, able to share more snips and pieces of individuals who are part of these two ladies' lives. Did you know from the very beginning that was going to be the case, K-reshay, or is that something that evolved as the story evolved?
It actually evolved as the story evolved. I did a short outline, but it didn't end up being 30 chapters initially. But I'm the type of reader, I don't like a really thick book just because I'm so busy. A lot of people are wearing so many different hats. It's hard to find a few moments to read. And so what started out is I was just going to do Tony and Maya. I thought that, you know what, I need to bring perspectives from the guys. I don't want this to be just a book just full of just those two friends. I felt like I need to bring in the dynamics of how the guys are interacting with them in their lives and in their relationships as well.
Right. And I think, that's the other side of this, too, because, as even it comes through in the book, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because, people will, for themselves, they'll look at someone and say, wow, that person is so successful. This person has it all together, not knowing that they're really a mess. Either on the inside, or dealing with some crazy situations. I mean, and that's true really on both levels with your characters, in that, they look like they should have everything that they should want, but they're dealing with a lot of inner conflicts. How important were those inner conflicts for you? Because there comes a point even in the book, and I love the fact that you kind of, address this, that, Maya has to be told, what, it's one of those things that you're going to have to just let it go. I mean, you're going to have to get to a place where you can be able to let things go. How important were those messages for you in the book?
Those messages were very important because I know that in our community, for sure, we shy away from getting help, from getting counseling. So I wanted to emphasize that, Maya did, she tried counseling. But even with the counseling, you still have to realize that it's some stuff some situations you have to walk away from if it's not going to nurture you. And with Maya, she's just struggling with the fact of, she's struggling with a couple of things. One of them, of course, is the jealousy. But one of the other things that she's struggling with is the fact that she felt like she wasn't good enough for Ty. And so because she felt like she wasn't good enough, she was left over the years trying to prove that she, was good enough. And so that reflects in how she interacts with Ty and Tony, because she wants to make it seem like her life is just so much better without him in it, and making Tony feel like, she settled for Ty, and she would be living a better life if she, hadn't been with him.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't read it yet, K-reshay, but I should say it's not spoiling it to let people know there is a part 2 to this, appearances 2. Did you know going into this book, though, that there was going to be more to the story? And again, we can talk around this so that we don't spoil it for those who haven't read it, but did you know from the very beginning, by the way the book ended, that you wanted to be able to explore this some more?
Yes, and the funny thing is, Cyrus, is I actually knew how I wanted to end it before I even was done with chapter 2. I already knew that how I just saw that scene as a really good way to end it. Even though I've had a lot of people say, "Oh man, it ended so abruptly." I was like, "But that's just the scene that I saw," and I knew that I had to do a part 2. Part 2, I definitely didn't know that it would turn into a part 3, but it was just I had to get in additional information. I had to put in a little bit more background, a little bit more past experiences, because one thing with this novel is I don't have any perfect characters. And that was something as a reader that I was seeing often, is that it was these perfect characters, like people fell in love with these characters, but I wanted to actually expose everything that they've done out front, showing that, hey, nobody is just perfect. These people have flaws, and I wanted people to kind of relate to the characters instead of more so fall in love with them.
Okay. Well, I think, what definitely does happen as we're kind of able to go into part 2 is that, definitely things do evolve. Definitely things are discovered, as you were just talking about. K-reshay, I want to ask you this, and you don't have to get into the details of why, but is there a character that really surprised you in the first book, that they end up taking a turn that you did not even see coming in the beginning when you created them?
I would say definitely in book 1 it would be Ty, because he comes across as a person that does not care about Maya, but his actions say otherwise. And so, it's revealed in the other parts of the series where, he starts to really change the way that he feels about her. It's kind of like he built up a wall, but honestly, the wall was just to protect himself from what he really was feeling all along.
Wow. Well, I think, it is interesting. He is definitely a character that I think people will be interested in. And I think, too, someone who may hold some, the key to destroying people's lives as well, which will be interesting to see, what happens with him in appearances, too, for those who have not read it yet. And I think, too, it kind of reminds us of life in general because, I think, for myself, as I was reading the book, as I mentioned, there are so many of these characters you look at and you say, wow, I didn't see that coming, or I wonder what I would do in that situation. What was the character that you had the biggest connection to?
I think I had the biggest connection to Tony because out of all the characters, of course, Tony was a mom, a wife. And so I played off of some of the things that I do in my daily life as far as, washing the, dishes and, folding clothes and, just the normal day-to-day activities. Tony actually was a character that I felt like she was a really good person that made a bad mistake. But because of the type of mistake that she made, it was hard for her to go past her mistake. And so I think a lot of people deal with that, like they make mistakes, but they can't forgive themselves. And then they allow the people around them to make them continue to pay for something that, of course, they can't change, but they're around people that never truly forgive them, which makes it hard for them to, move on with their lives and be happy with their lives because they're continuously catering to, what they did in the past.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Tony because there is that great scene that you wrote, K-reshay, with Tony and, of course, with Ty, and basically the conversations about Maya. And, I think, this goes to a bigger issue, I think, for people because, we're all told that, hey, if you make a mistake, you own up to the mistake and you try to move on. And that sounds really good, unless you're the person who was hurt because of the mistake. So it's not always easy. So I think people will be conflicted, I feel like, as someone who wants forgiveness, I can see where you would want to be with Tony. As someone who understands why there is a distance, because the conversation you had with Tony and Ty, K-reshay, was basically, Ty trying to say to her, she's not there for you, she doesn't mean you well, and Tony's trying to make excuses for, knowing what has transpired, and basically Ty says to her, you have to be able to move on. We've moved on. You have to be able to move on. Maya has to move on. What was that like for you? Because, again, it's easier said than done. We all have heard that saying. What was it like for you to kind of, since you mentioned Tony being the one that's easy to kind of connect with, what is it like for you to kind of see that contrast of wanting to be forgiven, but also in Maya's case, understanding that is not always as easy to do?
I think with Tony, she was dealing with the remorse, but she was also dealing with the fact that she felt like she was living the life that Maya should have been living. Tony's character she wasn't jealous of Maya's situation at all. She was jealous of her situation. Well, she was sad that her situation, where she was married with a child, was the things that she knew Maya wanted. And so I think it was just the fact that, she loved Maya. She made a mistake, but she understood, I believe, as a woman that what she did was wrong, and she just wanted to make amends. She just wanted, the only way she felt like she could clear her conscience is if Maya was married and Maya had, those things that she had. I think once that was done, then she would have been able to forgive herself even more. Yeah, I think that is the thing. I want to mention an off thing. I didn't mention this to you in the beginning, but one thing that you mentioned
something kind of what sparked appearances for you. Another thing that comes up in this book is music. For Maya, when she's on a mission with Tony, she thinks of Beyonce. For Tony, it's the words of Lauryn Hill and D'Angelo's Nothing Even Matters. I mean, how much does music inspire you, K-reshay?
Music is so important to me, Cyrus. What I do is throughout the novel, for inspiration, I'll listen to certain songs. So as I'm writing, I'm listening to the songs that I mentioned. And just the song can help guide that whole scene for me. And I think it's so important to incorporate music with the arts because I feel like they go hand in hand. Even with me being a poet, just being able to listen to instrumentals can spark, 4 or 5 pages of just poetry, just listening to the instrumental. So that's a very important part of my writing experience, whether I have on headphones, whether I can just, blast my radio. That is the one of the main things that inspire me in those scenes.
Yeah. There are people I think will look at Maya, to bring her up one more time, and will say that she is the ultimate victim in a lot of different ways, and I definitely won't get into that and what's going on with her even outside of Tony. What she realizes, there's that great part that you wrote too, and this is the thing about talking to authors. Okay, so, I have to be mindful. I want to talk to you about things, but then I don't want to spoil it for other people. There's that scene that you wrote with Maya in the closet. I'll put it that way. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And where you call it almost like a tomb for her, and her not wanting to come out. I mean, what I thought about is so many times us kind of being encased in something, and knowing once we come out of that, what we'll have to deal with. Do you think when people transition to book 2, that their feelings about Maya may change?
So in book 2, and actually that scene that you mentioned, that was a powerful scene for me to write as well. Just thinking about, I could just, envision her, seeing her in there in that closet, and just knowing that once she opens the door, she's opening the door with her eyes open, fully open to her fiancé and what he actually is. Book 2 goes into... I think you'll be very surprised with Maya in book 2. She is to the point now where she still wants to get married. She is to the point now where she's going to experience even more revelation. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for Maya is, of course, to get married. That prestige is what's driving her to make bad decisions. And what I do in book 2 is I try to reveal a little bit more of Maya's experience to make Maya more relatable. I do think that in book 1, people really don't like Maya, which was what I wanted. I wanted to show the Maya that was today's Maya, the present Maya. But in book 2, I feel like readers will relate more to Maya because, again, in the beginning of the series, she didn't start out being the way she is now. So I think in book 2, people will start relating more to Maya's character, and they're going to be less favorable of Tony's character.
Oh, interesting. Well, I've already ordered it for myself through our friends at Amazon.com. This book, Appearances, is available now through our friends at Amazon.com, so make sure you guys do head over there and get it for yourself. Again, it's called Appearances by K-reshay, and Reshay is spelled R-E-S-H-A-Y, so make sure you guys do head over there and get it for yourselves. And K-reshay, you have a lot, as I mentioned, still going on this year and moving forward. How can our audience stay connected with you?
Thank you so much for purchasing Appearances too. I appreciate that. So this year, the rest of this year, I have an event coming up in Bessemer, Alabama. It's called the Brown Girls Brunch. And the crazy thing about this event, well, not crazy, but I guess you could say the weird part for me is when I saw it advertising, there was a mask on the front of their flyer. And I contacted the representative, and I was like, hey, my book is exactly about, this brunch. And she was like, it is, she told her about my novel, and she was like, you definitely need to be here. And so I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a more so of an empowerment conference where they're telling women you don't have to wear the mask. You no longer have to wear the mask, just be yourself. So that's going to be very, very very interesting for me. And then on September the 28th, I have a book signing at Bookmart and Cafe in Starkville, Mississippi. That's my hometown. And so hopefully I'll have the third novel, Appearances 2, masked off there. Working on finishing up the last parts of it now. And so those are and that's also Bulldog Bash weekend, which if you're from Mississippi, you know that's a really big event. So I am looking forward to those two things coming up in September.
All right. So a lot for us to be able to look forward to. And K-reshay, let our audience know how they can stay connected with you.
Yeah, so on the Instagram, you can find me on Instagram at appearances_k-reshay. Also, I have a Facebook page called Appearances. And then also, if you want to find my book club, you can connect with me that way as well. And it's Me Time Book Club on Instagram as well.
All right. So make sure you'll definitely stay connected with her. K-reshay, congratulations to you again. So glad we got a chance to connect this year and especially to meet in person. Looking forward to seeing you again and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you again, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a phenomenal experience, and I'm glad that I was able to meet you.
Yeah, the pleasure's definitely all mine. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends. If you are joining us online, you all can find the replay right as we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media links, so head over to Facebook.com/Cyrus Webb or go over to Twitter.com/Cyrus Webb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there, too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make it a great one.